Welcome to Discovering. Tonight we take a look at the longest running bald eagle survey and what eagles can tell us about the environment around us.
Using a species like a bald eagle at the top of the food web that tells us so much about the health of the environment.
And some Michigan outdoor news regarding coyotes. So sit back and relax. It's Monday night and it's time for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forests thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Bill Bowerman started researching eagles here in Michigan 41 years ago. He's been on the Discovering program multiple times since then, educating the public about the importance of studying eagles and long-term studies like this.
My name's Bill Bowerman. I'm an eagle biologist and I'm a professor at the University of Maryland. Oh, this one's 4 kilos, 8.8 pounds. You know, I grew up in Munising, and the very first bald eagle I saw, I was 17 years old. And that was in the mid to late 70s. There were only 3 pair that were producing any young in the central UP.
Mike Weirda has been a part of this project since grad school and has the difficult job of climbing the tree to retrieve the eaglets.
I'm Michael Weirda. I'm from Grand Haven. I live in Utah and I run the pesticide safety education program for Utah State University.
All right, so as I climb, you guys are gonna wanna be back a little ways.
So this will be my 8th season of climbing trees. I climbed for Bill for the program when I ran the program as a PhD student for 4 years, and then did 1 year after, came back as a postdoc and climbed for someone else. And then this is my 3rd season coming back.
The rest of the people you see here were invited by Bill and Mike to get a first-hand look at what they do.
Now he's got a hat on. Okay, so your job is put your 2 fingers right there on the hat.
You're doing that one, okay.
Okay, good. Let go of the wing, let go of the wing.
Okay.
Okay, grab one foot with that arm and you're gonna hang on to the other one with the other arm. I've had over 10,000 people in the last 40 years that have met nestling eagles on the ground.
Every summer, they collect blood samples, feathers, and measurements from eaglets across the state and band them.
We put a Fish and Wildlife Service metal band that we rivet on so it doesn't pull it off, and that will help us know how long it lives. So you see it's got a rivet,
Oh, yeah.
and that's for their entire life. We take a blood sample in their wing, and we take 3 breast feathers, and that lets us look at contaminants in the environment. I'm gonna steal some feathers. So if I take, these will tell us mercury. And then we do measurements, which tells us how old they are and which sex. Males are smaller than females. And 137 as the foot pad. So this is a girl. Using a species like a bald eagle at the top of the food web that tells us so much about the health of the environment.
They received funding for this project to monitor polluted water bodies, mostly in the Lower Peninsula.
Having this long-term monitoring program gives us a good look at what the pollution is doing, what the levels are doing. We can see things going down. We know that DDT and PCBs have dropped over the years. And there's certain rivers like the Raisin River and a few others that are listed down there, and being able to track what the pollution is like gets us to know if we can delist these waterways and stuff like that.
Looking at pollution levels in specific waterways is why they use eaglets for testing.
And why we sample the young birds, and it's because when the adults have young on the nest, they don't go far for food. So we get a very centralized measure of what the pollutants are in the aquatic ecosystems near the nest. That way we avoid any cross-contamination from migration. So we work with the babies for a couple reasons. One, it's a lot easier to catch an eagle who can't fly. And two, they only get food from the immediate area around the nest. So whatever they're carrying and what we're measuring came from the water systems very close to their nest.
They chose this nest to look at PFAS levels in Lake Superior to see if their eaglet sample matches PFAS concentrations that the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy found in fish and water samples. This nest is located on the Eagle's Nest Nature Preserve, owned by the Superior Watershed Partnership and Land Conservancy. They wanted me to let you know that this property is open to the public and is located along 550 north of Marquette.
We were worried in the mid-1980s whether or not eagles would still be surviving to the year 2000. And luckily, we banned many compounds like DDT, PCBs, dieldrin in the early 1970s. And at the mid-1980s, then suddenly the population took up on an exponential growth. So when I started 41 years ago, there was 114 pair. In the mid-90s, there were 200 pair. Got up to 1,085 in 2022, and now we're back to 630, but then it should start to increase again.
Dr. Bowerman's research has led to many findings, from forever chemicals like PFAS in the environment to the recent decline of our eagle population due to avian influenza.
And when we had bird flu effects and we lost 40% of the breeding pairs in the state of Michigan 2 years ago, went from 1,085 breeding pairs down to 630, only because we have these long-term studies do we have the data to make those kinds of analyses.
The UP took a hit with the avian flu when it came through because that seems to have been more cold prevalent. So lower Michigan, when we worked down there 2 years ago or 3 seasons ago, we didn't see quite as much impact. We found dead birds, we had avian influenza off or kills and all that, and we found it in birds. But when we got to the UP, we ran into, from Sault Ste. Marie all the way over to Marquette, there was only 1 or 2 active nests, and there should be dozens in that span. And that was just avian influenza, just crushed the birds in 2022-3. Now it feels like the younger birds, the floating population, are starting to fill back in and reestablish nests.
But we still have a lot of eagles. We're not going to put them back on the endangered species list.
This long-running data set will be helpful for future studies as well.
My entire archive of 40 years was transferred to the state of Michigan 2 years ago. I brought tens of thousands of samples, and they're invaluable. They give us a timeline.
And we can go back too, because we've had people contact us who want to look for a different pollutant. We can go back 30 years and pull samples and see when that pollutant showed up in the environment with our archives. So it's just a huge data source, huge wealth of knowledge.
It's just so valuable. Mike and I will volunteer our time to keep it going.
And that's what they're doing this year.
5.7, because our funding is federal. We get our funding from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, and their funding was held up. So hopefully we have it next year. I think we do. So I asked Mike Weirden, and we both decided to be volunteers, and I had enough frequent flyer miles. I flew in from Utah, and here we are banding.
We didn't want to let the year go by and not get out here and sample these birds, so my university allows me to take leave and come here and do this. We're going from here to Voyagers after this, and we'll just keep doing it. Hopefully next year we have funding again and we can actually get crews, because last year we had 3 different crews running all year last year. And this year we're down to 2 people.
Because of the lack of funding and no DNR flights to locate eaglets for them, they only banded 2 nests in the UP this year.
So we were kind of flying blind this year. We're actually starting a 501c3. So there are things that the government needs us to do to help them manage the Great Lakes and the polluted sites and timber products and all kinds of different things. And we want to keep doing that, but there's other projects that we want to do that are just as important. So we're going to keep, banding eagles, monitoring herring gulls, and trying to have those species tell us the health of the Great Lakes.
Mike takes us inside this eagle's nest after the break. I gave Mike my GoPro to get a shot of the eaglet in the nest. He did that and one better. Mike gives us a close-up look at the inside of the nest and the spectacular view from their home.
Hey, here we are. He doesn't appreciate my hand in his general area. Lots of plastic up here. We'll get this all out of here. But we're gonna get a hold of this guy and work on getting him down up to the ground. Yeah, he's after it. He doesn't want me here. I don't blame him. All right, Youper friends, we are up here in an eagle's nest. I'm gonna do a little bit of, I'm gonna do a lot of cleanup here. We got a lot of plastic waste up here. So I'm gonna take care of that stuff, and then we'll have a look around the nest and see if we can find prey remains. We already found quite a lot of garbage in this nest.
So while I'm in the nest, I have a few tasks to do other than just enjoy the view. But I dig around in the nest. I don't dig around, but I look around the nest for prey remains so we can report what kind of prey remains we find in the nest. If we find any trash or stuff like that in the nest, we generally remove it. I came down with a lot of plastic from this nest. Seems this bird probably a dumpster diver at a nearby construction site or something like that.
I asked Mike what the strangest thing he ever found in an eagle's nest was.
I haven't found a lot of weird things. Subway bag in one nest one time. Found a deer leg. Well, it was a deer leg. It was clearly from a hunter because it had been sawed off, but it got picked up. No dog collars, no cat collars or any of that sort of stuff. Turtle shell, turtles in eagle's nest, they happen, but they're a little less frequent. We found one in a nest earlier this year, which the little skull of the turtle was still inside the shell, and you look at him, you're like, that was a rough day.
Many times, Mike has another eaglet to keep him company in the tree, since they only let down one at a time.
There's a second eaglet or a third eaglet. I hang out with them and usually talk to them because that's what I'm doing. So 1 to 2 is the average. Last year we had several nests with 3 in them, which was a new thing. I didn't have any nests when I was running the program that had 3 in it. It was always 1 or 2. And then just a few weeks ago down in the Lower Peninsula on the Kalamazoo, we found a nest that had 4 eaglets in it, which was the first that we knew of in the state of Michigan. And it's the first that this research has run into in 40 years.
All right, that's the majority of our trash. Let's have a look around the nest, shall we? So, fish jaw. We've got dull feathers, which is no big surprise. Owned, I don't know from what.
This is the first time they've banded eaglets on this nest.
This is a fairly new nest, to our knowledge, from a good friend of mine, known of this nest. I figure it's about 3 to 4 years old, which checks out for me. This thing's only maybe 3 feet across, only a foot or 2 high. Long-term established nests can easily be 6+ feet across and 10, 15, even 20 feet tall from the very base to the very top.
While Mike was up there, the eagle pair circled above while making high-pitched squawks.
We used to get asked all the time if the adults will abandon the babies because we've handled them. Because almost all of us were told that as kids, don't pick up the baby bird and put it back in the nest. I can tell you right now, You can pick up a baby bird and put it back in the nest. Once they have eggs, once they have young, they're not going to abandon. And it's usually about an hour before they're back on the nest. They keep flying past closer and closer, making sure I'm not hiding underneath it or something. And then they're back on the nest in about an hour, which is why we shoot for the age range we do. We shoot for the 4 to 8-ish week range, because at 4 weeks old, they have enough feathers to thermoregulate, so if it's a hot day, they can deal with it. If it's a colder day, they can deal with it. They don't need mom sitting there and sheltering them. And then we don't want them much past 8 weeks, because around 10 weeks is when they start exercising and thinking they're an eagle and they're gonna fly one day. And you don't want to be the guy who pops over the nest at 9.5 weeks and have an eagle go, I think this is the day, and then bail before it should, which I've never had happen, thankfully.
So I'm gonna chill out, drink some water, wait for the bird to come back, and then gear up and head down the hill. Well, down the hill, down the tree. All right, later folks.
Welcome back. It is now open season to hunt coyotes here in Michigan. Last year, the Natural Resources Commission shortened the season, which was previously year-round.
2016, I believe, is when we went from a partial season to a full year-round season.
Coyote hunting is currently prohibited 3 months of the year, from April 16th to July 14th. I talked to Justin Tomei, the Policy and Government Affairs Manager for Michigan United Conservation Clubs, about this regulation change that the MUCC has been fighting against.
So in March of 2024, the commission voted on an order that partially closed Michigan's coyote season, taking it from year-round down to 9 months. So basically restricting all harvest from April 15th to July 15th. The rationale behind that did not follow their legal charge and their responsibility under Proposal G to follow the best available science in their decision-making. Rather, the rationale, as stated by the own commissioners in their vote explanations at the time, was because of perceived social pressures, unsubstantiated political pressures.
The supposed threat was that allowing the hunting of coyotes during pup rearing season would turn the public against hunting.
Since then, we have had pretty healthy turnover in the commission, and there's been an order requested to reopen the season to year-round. To date, the commission has not acted on that order.
Over the last few months, the NRC has tabled discussions about reinstating the full year season. And this month, not enough commissioners were present at the monthly meeting to make a quorum. The MUCC has also sued the NRC for going against Proposal G.
After the March 2024 decision to partially close the season, Michigan Trapper and Predator Caller Association and MUCC both filed a lawsuit against the commission, arguing that they violated their legal charge and ultimately illegally closed Michigan's coyote season for that quarter of a year. Proposal G is pretty clear. It says that the commission, to the greatest extent practicable, needs to use the principles of sound scientific management in their decision making. And really, at the time of the closure, the only people that had brought scientific literature to the commission was hunters in favor of keeping the season open. What we argued at the time was that spring is a great time to manage coyotes, both for livestock or game species depredation, that it was a good time to hunt because the crops are down, it's easy hunting, and that while we can't really hurt state level populations, spring is a great time to manage local densities.
Last month, a judge downstate ruled in favor of the NRC's 3-month coyote season closure. Justin said this fight is about more than coyotes.
It's not so much about shooting coyotes year-round. This is a cornerstone issue for anyone that cares about hunting and trapping and fishing in the state of Michigan, because we don't want the precedent to be set that city folk and non-hunters can be scared, and that can cause us to lose some opportunity. Because ultimately what's going to happen as a result of this is we're going to lose bobcat hunting, or we're going to lose the ability to hunt bears with dogs, or as they tried in 96, bears with dogs and bears with bait. The inevitable outcome of caving to these social pressures is the ultimate elimination of so many of the things that we hold dear as hunters and trappers and anglers. And that's what this is all about. This is so much bigger than 3 months of coyote hunting.
The MUCC created a coyote coalition and petition to reinstate the year-round season. You can find it on their website. That's all for tonight, and I hope to see you right back here next week for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.